Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Speaking Driven. Sorry. Started over again. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Speaking Driven Business Livecast. My name is Mary Foley. I'm a current member of the National Speakers Association of Virginia, and I'm today's host. Now, let me ask you, are you an expert who shares their knowledge, their expertise, their wisdom to help clients succeed? Well, if so, the chances are that you present to groups. Maybe they're small, maybe they're large, maybe they're in person, maybe they're online. But it's somehow presenting, sharing your knowledge, and you might be an author, a speaker, a trainer, a coach, or a consultant, or more. Well, at the National Speakers Association Virginia, we're all about being smart and savvy about building our speaking-driven business. And we love to have conversations with smart, savvy people here in our area who are doing just that. So I want to get to it, and we can talk to today's guest so she can share about her speaking-driven business and experience as well. Today we're talking with the smart and savvy Sheila Battle. You know, Sheila, well, you might know Sheila from 15 Minutes of Grace. That was a presentation she did at TEDxRVA a few years ago, and it has gone viral, and it really captures so much about Sheila and her spirit, because she has this insatiable passion to see people develop holistically, and not just on the surface, but within. And she does it as a coach and a consultant and a conference speaker. So Sheila, I want to say welcome to the Speaking Driven Livecast by NSA Virginia.
Well, thank you so much, Mary. It's an honor to be with you. I shared with you earlier, I stalk you a little bit. And so it's great to share an audience with you once again.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I appreciate that. It's not about me, but I appreciate that. Well, let's talk about you. All right. Okay. So I just briefly introduced you, but here's the question we always like to ask our guests. What problems do you solve, and for whom?
Wow. So by designation, I'm a SoulCare coach.
Okay.
I'm not a business coach. I'm not a professional coach. But the fruit of what we do as it relates to SoulCare shows up in every area of people's lives. And so as a SoulCare coach, what I do is I introduce people to practices and exercises that allow them to experience renewal in their mind, align their wills, and stabilize their emotions in a way that causes them to flourish and to thrive. And so our primary demographic is women, but of course, when you have a curriculum, you have to make it diverse and applicable to everyone. So we have 10 to 12 modules that we usually do, and therefore both sexes, but my primary demographic is women.
Got it. And is there a particular age of women that are attracted to this topic of soul care?
You know, that's becoming an interesting question. I always thought that it would just be my peers, the same women who were, nursing their parents and raising their kids and starting businesses or climbing the corporate ladder. And what I'm finding, Mary, is the women who are attracted to our work are getting younger and younger. And so I'm an adjunct professor at VCU, and I teach a class there. And a lot of those young people are craving resources and tools that would help them grow in a holistic way. They're at a university that has tons of accolades for its academic programming, but there's that part of them as a person that also needs tools and resources, areas where they want to grow and develop as young women, as a person. And so my group is growing in that millennial age group. So I would almost say from 16 to 106 is really where we're landing here, and we just don't turn anybody away. And so if someone shows up, I tell people all the time, if you show up, that means you're ready. And so let's put our big girl britches on and let's get this work done.
I like that. 16 to 106.
Yes.
I'd like to be in your class at 105, okay? I'd like to be able to say I'm awake and alive that long and saying I still want to grow.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah. What are then the main products and services or ways that you help to solve these problems for your ideal clients? In other words, you talked about these modules. Tell us a little bit more. Is it primarily through a course? You mentioned teaching. What are some of the main ways that you get to this whole idea of soul care?
So it usually depends on how people find out about us. Mm-hmm. So I'm tagged as a coach, mm-hmm. a consultant, and mm-hmm. a conference speaker.
Okay.
And so the one-on-one coaching or the group coaching usually gets birthed out of, I've had an encounter with someone, they've been introduced to our practices, which is 15 Minutes of Grace, and I'll be happy to share with you about that. And then there's the consulting. And in the consulting world, what ends up happening is I come into organizations, mm-hmm. and I do an assessment, and I do the assessment for one-on-one and group coaching too. In my former life, I worked for a local social services agency. And so I'm a social worker at heart. So we do intake and assessment just like a social worker would. Mm-hmm. And then from that, we craft a program that is specifically for you. So on an individual level, your program might look different from your neighbor down the street. When we do group work, it's usually birthed out of our soulful conversations around intimate topics that are important to people. Mm-hmm. And so like over the last summer, we ran programming. We had a session called Healing Our Rage. We found that a lot of people were struggling with anger in different areas of their life. We did a session on grief and loss. And so we do those as group sessions because it gives a good opportunity for people to share their stories and to learn from each other as well mm-hmm. as dive into the material. And yeah, so as a conference speaker, that, I'm on that circuit with you. And so folks will call and say, could you keynote in the area of health and wellness, or in the area of self-compassion, or compassion fatigue? We speak on all of those types of subjects. And so in the business world, that's been booming and growing. I mean, the Federal Reserve, top 10 nonprofits in the Richmond area are calling us to come in and work with their teams. And we do a process of organizational psychology to find out what are your blind spots and how can you create greater community in the workplace. And so, like I said, it really just depends on how people initially engage with us. We've had people who we helped in an organization contact us later and say, I want private coaching. I'm happy that you're doing this thing on my job, but then I also, want to do private one-on-one coaching, or I want my husband and I, or my kids and I to do a coaching series with you. And so, like I said, that intake and assessment becomes really important for how we craft the set of modules that are going to best benefit them.
Do most of the people who end up deciding to be part of your program, let's say as an individual, or they decide to join in, or maybe they are asked to join in by their employer, something internally, does that start often because you've done a presentation, let's say at a conference or maybe some other event?
Yeah. Here's the two sides of that coin.
Okay.
One side of that coin is 15 Minutes of Grace. So as you stated earlier, I was just wild and blessed to be able to stand on that big red dot and deliver a 4-minute talk. It was only 4 minutes, a 4-minute talk called 15 Minutes of Grace. And 15 Minutes of Grace it's one of the core practices in my SoulCare curriculum. Everybody learns about 15 Minutes of Grace, no matter what your modules look like. The 15 Minutes of Grace piece is always in there. And so I go to events and I stand in the grocery store, I'm in Sam's Club, and I tell people about this amazing practice that I discovered, and I issue the 15 Minutes of Grace challenge. And the challenge is an invitation for you to take and create sacred space in your day where you unlearn and relearn how not to judge, condemn, or compare yourself to anyone else. And there's something about helping people and giving them permission, or reminding them that they have permission to take that time to take really good care of themselves, that is people just welcome it. And so that talk is really what preempted a lot of the requests and the calls that we were getting to come into organizational spaces and share this content, as well as these keynotes and to do these speaking engagements up and down the country, up and down the East Coast. So.
Wow. Yeah. And for those who haven't listened to it, I would highly recommend.
Yes.
TEDxRVA. So that's Richmond, Virginia. Do TEDxRVA, 15 Minutes of Grace, Sheila Battle, any combination of those words.
Yes.
And it will pop up at the top. And
yeah.
Right. And it's been about 3 years. And I remember we were in tryouts together for TEDxRVA that year. And I was teasing Sheila. I'm like, well, clearly yours did a lot better than mine. But so she made the cut, which was perfectly fine. But I realized that was in a tryouts. But you said 4 minutes on this red dot, which of course, when you see the video, and this is typical for TEDx, is there's a place you stand and on the platform, and they had a big red circular, dot, as you said, but basically, what did it say? Rug, piece of carpet. Mm-hmm. And, it is harder to do that kind of impact in 4 minutes than it is in 40, right? And I know that took a lot of deliberate work about what was said and also wasn't said so that you could, in 4 minutes, make that kind of impact. Because how many times have all of us been presenting, talking, whatever, spontaneously get in front of a group? We can take 4 minutes and hardly make a dent. Right. So I give you credit for that. That's and it shows the power of the clarity of your message.
Well, thank you. That's a huge compliment coming from you. That is a huge compliment. I really appreciate that. I guess the one thing is I had been speaking probably for 20 years all over Richmond before that opportunity presented itself. But you are absolutely correct. Usually in those spaces, you get 30 minutes, you get 40 minutes. If you're doing a workshop, you get an hour and a half, things like that. And I honestly had no idea how this was going to come out. TEDx is very meticulous about their process. They give you a coach. And I had the best coach. I'm still going to say that I had the best coach of those offered. And she just kept saying to me, I have no idea how you're going to do this in 4 minutes. Wow. And we both really were struggling with which parts of this story to keep and which parts to discard. And so, Mary, just to be honest with you, I lifted my hands and they mic'd me. My coach Elaine was in the background waiting for me. She gave me a hug and she said, it's already done and it's going to be beautiful. Just go out there and speak from your heart. And so I hit that dot, and somehow or another in that crowded theater, I found my husband. And I opened up my mouth and it just came out. And it came out just like that. And there are no recordings of any of my rehearsals that sound like that. It literally happened in that moment. And so, and I wasn't afraid. I was more afraid of leaving something out than I was about standing in front of a crowd. Because like I said, I have been speaking for 20 years. So speaking in front of a crowd didn't make me nervous. It was the content. It was the ability to engage and impact all of those people. And when I came off, Elaine was the first person waiting for me, and she was in tears. And then somewhere I heard one of the producers saying, the site crashed. And I just went, and then I lost it. I just burst into tears and I started crying. I was like, oh my God, this just happened. And so by the time we started getting emails from Germany and Japan and people, I couldn't even have imagined that something that I was just really doing for my own self-preservation would have had such an impact on so many people. And so that's when all of these speaking engagements, it just went to another level. Like I said, I was already out speaking, but to get, calls to do a tour for 2019, to hit 6 major cities and take this message out there, it's just been phenomenal. It's just been a phenomenal experience. But I really think it was because of the content and people just connected. It just resonated with so many people that, I really need to not be so hard on myself, that there's grace, and that grace isn't just some theological construct, but that it's a gift for everyone. And that we can really step into a place where we're a little more kinder, we're a little gentler with ourselves. And so
Yeah.
that's what the message was about. But in the climate that we live in, it just resonated, and I couldn't be more thrilled that people are taking it seriously and actually accepting the challenge and doing it.
That's just, yeah, that's really cool. It is amazing. And even with all the TEDx events around the country and otherwise, and some say there's thousands of TEDx
Yes.
talks, it doesn't matter, it doesn't have the same impact anymore. Well, you've proven that to be not true. It is about the message of relevancy. And I'm curious, you're walking off the stage. Did you ever afterwards go, oh, I wish I had said this. I wish I had included that.
That came later. When I stepped off the stage, I was so conscious that something magical had happened. I just was trying to take that in and just to remind myself to breathe. As a matter of fact, when they were unmicing me, someone said, do you want us to get your husband? Because I guess I looked like I was going to pass out. And they said, do you want us to get your husband? And I said, yes, like get my husband. But it was, I knew something magical had happened, Mary. Like and that's not, I hope that doesn't sound arrogant, because it wasn't because I thought I had nailed it. I just thought the message resonated. And I knew my life was never going to be the same. Like I knew coming off of that stage that everything was about to be different. And so I didn't know what that was going to look like, and I didn't know in what ways. But certainly there was moments later where I went, like I couldn't watch it. It took me, we did TEDx in April. I think the videos went up in May. I couldn't watch it. Like it was probably 3 months. First of all, I'm not crazy about the sound of my own voice. So listening to myself is not something I want to sign up to do. But my husband and my kids made me watch it. And I sat with them and watched it and cried all over again, because it was magic. It was magic. And I know that there are tricks and there are templates that people teach when you're a speaker. And absolutely, there are things that should be followed, especially when you have time restraints and your audience is diverse and you have to make sure that you don't step on any toes. But TEDx was an absolute open-hearted experience for me. And it was an opportunity to just stand flat-footed and deliver a message, and not critique myself in it, to be gracious to myself. And but no, I couldn't watch it for 3 months. And then after I watched it, I cried, and then I went, oh my God, like I should have had on a onesie, like a one shaper, or why do I look
for
so
the men
lumpy?
Listening, don't worry about what that really means.
Don't worry about what that means.
We have our own secrets, okay? Just saying. But now you're getting critical, right?
Yes. And I think I stumbled over a word or something. I was trying to say vicissitudes, and it came out like blah, 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 blah. And, but other than that, I was so overwhelmed by the response. And so I don't watch it like now, like even now, like I send it to people, but I don't watch it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing that kind of that experience about how you experienced it, right? And it's so easy for us, particularly with a TEDx talk or any really good presentation that we're watching on video, right? Of a clip of people, like that's powerful. And it's so easy, particularly for those of us who are, in a speaking mode, to say, I want that impact. They made it look so easy and good. And it's like, water off their back. When in fact, what you're saying is, I had a very clear message. I knew why I wanted to share it. I did the work to figure out what to put in 4 minutes. I did the work to consider, how do I need to do this message for this audience, right? I did the work to to conform, or at least, or to do the TEDx format that they need, right? So it's not as if you just winged it.
No.
You did the work.
Yes.
And then what I'm hearing is, in the moment, you also said, all right, I practice, I just have to walk out there, open my mouth and start, and really, through grace, leave it to, God or the universe to give me the exact right words in that moment to come out and impact. And the results spoke to that. That's why I was wondering if, when you walked off the stage, since you only had 4 minutes, if in fact you went, oh, I should have, not should have, oh, I wish I had said this, I wish I had said that. And what I heard was, first of all, you were not in the thinking space. You were more in the heart space.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
you were observing something magical, significant happen. And that's a cool space to feel. And who wants to get out of that? We'd rather, like, how do I punch up that more quickly?
Yes,
right?
it's addictive.
Yeah, right. And then later, it's looking at your video 3 months later, yourself, and probably recognizing the magic, remembering going back to that magic experience and going, oh my gosh, I could have worn that. I could have done this, right? And yet, then kind of the thinking part kicks in, right?
Yes.
So it's just a great message I was thinking about, in terms of this being such a game changer for you personally in a speaking driven business of one making impact. It's obviously you have been making impact as a presenter, a speaker for 20 years prior to this. And yet this 4 minutes, because you got the clarity of message that resonated so highly, and you literally had a platform within the TEDx scope, and of course they're broadcasting it out, so it multiplies. We all know that that's the wonderful impact. But all those three together, and I think it's a great example of that. We don't have to have the big long message. We have to have the impactful message that makes a difference to those that we want to reach.
Right. And you have to put in your time. I mean, I think it's important for folks who want speaking to be a major part of their business, to know that you just got to put in the time. It's doing those events where it's 20 people. It's doing those events where it's 200 people. It's doing those events where the pay is small, and being willing to do those just as much as you are when the pay is large. It's about the experience, and it's about creating that impact. And every time you step on that stage, every time you stand behind a microphone, it's an opportunity for you to learn and unlearn, and for you to engage, and for you to figure out what works, and what your flow is, and what your message is, and how do you fine tune it even the more. And so those 20 years of speaking, and 20 years of teaching, and 20 years of facilitating workshops and doing all of that, to me, were the perfect setup for me to step onto that big red dot and really not know, but know that something was going to happen, that it was going to come together, that the words were going to flow. Every time I practiced, I did not get it to 4 minutes. Like we never hit 4 minutes. We never hit 4 minutes the entire time we were rehearsing. But I knew that I wanted to be obedient, because there's something to be said that when someone gives you 4 minutes, that you only take 4 minutes, and you don't go over, because then people don't want to ask you back. But then it was also just as important to me to have that impact, and to make sure that people left without a question, that they could do this practice, that they could easily incorporate it into their life, and that something about me standing there meant it worked.
Yeah.
And so when the event was over, literally there was a line of people waiting to talk to us about this process. And I mean, people were coming up to me in tears saying, I'm nursing my mother right now. My sibling my sister has breast cancer, and I'm trying to still work every day and raise my own family. And it just connected with so many people And it was permission for them to say, I'm tired. And I don't know if I'm doing this right. And it was an opportunity for me to create a little safe space for them to say, but it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. And you're going to make it. And you're going to make it. So I think for speakers, for me, that's my dream. The dream is that somebody walks away. If they can just pull out one strand of spaghetti, like, you know, you make spaghetti and meatballs and it's all mixed up. If they can just pull out one thing, and that's enough to carry them until the next time you see them or the next time you get to reconnect, then that's what it's about. Like, what's that memorable moment that you're creating for your audience? And how do you do that consistently, so that it's more about the message than it is about your personality?
That's a very good point. And I think that's a great takeaway for all of us who want to make an impact in speaking in front. What's one thing that
what's
the
your message?
audience can take away that's about them, right? It's not about your big personality or your small personality or your funny personality. And, you know, imagine from a business building point of view as well. Oh my gosh, 15 minutes of grace. That was so good. What else she got? Right? I mean, seriously, and it's not maybe in that moment, what else does she have? But if that works so well,
right,
you know, wait, there's more there. I want more. I may easily seek that out. Can you give us even more now doing a workshop? And, you know, I had this vision in my mind as you were sharing about being on that stage, that red dot, and that's this. It was the bottom of an exclamation point. Boom.
Wow.
There you, yeah. And
wow. That's, yeah. Wow. That is true. That's absolutely true. And it wasn't, Mary, and I just want to be honest. I mean, because everybody's not going to get an opportunity to stand on a platform like that. And so for me, I was already everybody I wanted to be as a person. I was already my whole authentic self before I got on that diet. And so while the success behind it has been great and incredible, it didn't redefine who I am. I'm still the same Sheila. I'm still the same auntie. I still go to, you know, the little small Baptist church and do their Women's Day. I still, you know, it didn't change who I am. What it did was it gave a larger audience a chance to see who I am. And so I think if people who are in this for the right reasons and people who can, you know, stay clear about what their message is, I think that they experience success, even if it's not on a big red dot, even if it's not in front of 1,000 people. You can still experience success as a speaker if your message is resonating, if you've honed in on your delivery, your unique style of talking about whatever it is your subject matter is. And I think if people can make that the focus instead of how can I be rich and famous off of this, there's an authenticity that gets rewarded in just walking out who you're supposed to be and doing what you're supposed to be as a resident of the planet, as opposed to, you know, trying to be a superstar or trying to be the next Mary Foley. You know, like I said, I stalk you, but I'm clear that I can't be the next Mary Foley. So I have to be the best Sheila Battle that I can be. And it just so happens that the universe, that God has formatted this message about grace and situated it in my mouth in such a way that I can deliver it from such an authentic place, because I didn't just write a speech. This is my life.
Right.
I don't do 15 minutes of grace as a practice to make money. I do it every day because it's how I've been able to maintain. And so when you can speak and it can come from that place, I think the doors just continue to open for you. They just continue to open for you by default.
Love it. There's one line I'm going to remember, one Sheila Battle quote from our conversation.
Okay.
Authenticity gets rewarded.
Yes. Every time.
And there's a lot of ways rewards show up.
Yes.
Right? Some of them are financial compensation and some are not. They're all rewards. That's great.
Right.
All right, we are just out of time, Sheila, but all right, so for those who want to, you know, connect with you more, find out more about Sheila Battle, what's the best way they can do that?
So the best way is to go to my website, which is www.sheila, SHEILA, battle.com. Again, that's www.sheilabattle.com. And I get messages from that site every day. People are checking in saying, are you available for this? Can you come to that? Can we have a session with you? Can we get a list of what the modules are that you teach in SoulCare? And so it's just been an amazing ride. I'm so grateful and so blessed to be at this stage of my life and be older so that I'm mature enough to handle all of what's coming at me right now. But I have an incredible husband. We have a wonderful team that's working with us to help keep me straight, because I'm one of those people who need to be managed. I need to be managed. Like, I need somebody to say, Sheila, okay, here's your calendar for the week. This is where you're supposed to be. This is what you're talking about. Like, I need that, because if it was left to me, I would double and triple book myself, which is horrible. So been there, done that. So speakers, beware. If you need help, find somebody to help you with your calendar, and never double book. Never double book.
Yep. Good to know your strengths, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well,
yeah, the website is the best place to catch me.
It is. Okay, great. So SheilaBattle.com. Well, Sheila Battle, the person. All right. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing about, you know, your experience and your business and in making your impact. And I want to encourage everyone, if you want to hear some other great conversations with some other people in our region about how they are doing the same, go to nsavirginia.org/livecast, and there's more interviews there. Thank you so much, Sheila. It's been fun.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Take care.